Welcome to Squad Help, the world's #1 naming platform. In this video, we will share our proven tools and strategies to help you create winning brand names. This video will start with some big picture concepts, but stick around because you won't want to miss all the practical tools and techniques to help you overcome some of the most common stumbling blocks and create names that people will like and love. For example, we will show you how to use the dozens of naming types to create a variety of strong names, which is the #1 thing our contest holders ask for again and again. Learning how to create a variety of strong names will be one of your best tools in excelling at naming projects and getting noticed.
We're going to go through a hypothetical example, so let me share with you this specific summary. The business has created a unique technology that will completely revolutionize how brands and businesses target their customers by utilizing the highest quality of data possible. They believe it's one of the coolest, most practical, and disruptive uses of modern technology yet. The customers are marketing leaders or decision makers at large or medium-sized businesses. We're looking for a name that is unexpected within the marketing and data industry while still capturing some of our key brand elements. The key values of this brand are honesty, trust, pioneering, transparency, and innovation. And they have a key brand statement: there are jobs to be done, and we help you do them with integrity. So now we move into step 2, taking that information, our brand information, and turning it into some specific criteria that we need to use. So we're assessing our brand statement, our branding document. First, we see that this company is selling to decision makers at medium-sized and large businesses. So we need to be somewhat professional and fit in with other larger, more prestigious businesses. What does this mean? It means we should follow the basic principles of functionality. Other larger, more professional businesses have names that are typically a little bit shorter, not excessively short, doesn't have to be 4 letters, but typically they're not very, very long. They are typically very easy to say and easy to spell. And we probably want to avoid some of the cuter brand name concepts such as puns and other silly references that make for cute and funny names that are a little less professional oftentimes. Next, we can see that this company is cutting edge. They're doing something very different and disruptive. This doesn't mean we have to say Nexa or Next Gen right in the name, but it does mean we should depart from some of the old school branding styles and make the name sound fresh and interesting. Similarly, this company is looking for a name that is unexpected within their industry, data and marketing. You see unexpected names come out a lot. One of the quintessential examples is Apple, which really disrupted the industry back in the 70s. Some more modern examples are Urban Decay, Evolve Foods, Slack. These names are very different than everything else in the industry. And by doing that, they get a lot of attention. So it's a great naming style, and this is what this company is looking for. Now that we have these higher concept directional statements built, and we know where we're going with our naming process, we need to go back to the brief and pull out some core pieces of information. These are single words, short phrases, maybe stories that we might put directly into the name. So in our example, we've pulled out a few specific concepts. They are innovation, revolution, quality, honesty, trust, pioneering, transparent, disruptive, integrity, and work ethic. It's important to note that there's not one way to take your brand statements, your brief document, and turn it into these core ideas. The beauty of naming is that everybody's going to do it a little bit differently. But it is essential to start with your brand and move into these core statements so we have them clear and written, and we have a real straightforward direction that makes sense and is going to lead to a name that aligns with the business that we're trying to create. In step 4, we take our few core ideas and expand them greatly. So let's go through some techniques. Number 1 is to use a simple thesaurus. In our example, we've taken our core words and phrases and turned them into more words, such as cutting edge, inspiration, idea, advance, modern. You can see how you can continue to dig way deeper into the thesaurus, but that's a good start. Now we can think of industry words or slang words. In our example, we might use a word like target or persona as a good industry-specific word. Next, we can look at short, popular names. If you study naming and look at what different companies are doing with their names, which is absolutely essential to creating great names, is to have an understanding of what companies are doing in your industry and other industries, you might see some trends. Two ones that I can think of off the top of my head are Maven and Sprout. They're not so overused that you should definitely stay away from them, and they can be really interesting. There's a lot of examples of short, popular words that could be great for your name. In our example, we thought of words like core, Vista, and Propel. Core referring to integrity, trust, reliability. Vista referring to clear sight or transparency, where Propel is about forward process, the progress, the pioneering aspect of this brand. You can think about features like data or insights in this example. We can use power words. Power words are big picture. They often have a sense of emotionality to them. They're referring to oftentimes what we think of as archetypes, so very big concepts that can be placed in many different scenarios, still have a lot of meaning. So some of the words we thought of for this brand could be up, true, pure. Up refers to forward progress. Pure is about the integrity, the honesty, the purity of the data itself. There's a lot of ways that one works. And true is about trust, again, and integrity. Next, we could consider trendy words. Especially in certain industries, trendy words can work really well. You have to be careful, though, that you don't feel like they're going to go out of style too quickly, because you want something that lasts, a name that's going to last with you. But for example, vibe is really, really popular right now. Extra, trill, these are some interesting concepts. A really important naming construct to consider is metaphors. For example, if we look at famous people, we might think of Lincoln as an example of honesty and integrity, or Edison is an example of forward thinking and innovation. You can look at places. Athens is a really interesting metaphor because it's a place that in ancient Greece there was a ton of revolutionary thinking going on. So this could be a great metaphor for the revolutionary, the disruptive nature of this company. We can look into mythology. So Prometheus brought fire to humanity. This could be another great metaphor for innovation. You can look at animals. In our example, maybe an ape is a metaphor for evolution, is a reference to evolution, to moving forward to progress. And with this example, you can see that some of the ideas that are going to come out are going to be better than others. Ape, this kind of metaphor could be a little bit offensive to certain people, so we need to be careful what words we're bringing into this process. Importantly, you don't want anything that's way too current. So if somebody's popular now and we use them as a metaphor, we don't know what's going to happen in a few days, in a few weeks. If you use another, like a popular business owner as a metaphor, unfortunately there's going to be trademark conflict around that name. So you got to be careful with what kind of metaphors. And you usually want to dig out your history books and your love of social studies and dig a little deeper than the last 10, 20 years into previous centuries typically. Another great way to go is nouns. So we could use a color like blue for trust or red for disruption. Helm could be another noun. It's the front of the ship, so this idea of leadership and steering forward and forward progress. We can use verbs. In this example, maybe we'd use something like spearhead to move forward, or spur, spearhead or spur. Then we can look into foreign language words. Trust becomes veritas in Latin. Quality becomes qualitas. Honesty in Italian is onesto. And again, you can see that there's no right way to do this. And everybody, this is again the really exciting part about naming, everybody's going to approach this tactic, these activities, with a different background, and they're going to come to different results. And that's how we get lots of diverse names that are functional. This should be a really fun process, a really creative process. Let your imagination go and create a lot of ideas that are going to, again, come back and align with the brand that you're working on. So now that we have all these words, it's time to create some names. It's important to note that these are just some of the many techniques that you can use for creating great words that you're going to turn into names. You're going to develop your own theories and strategies, but definitely try these out. Now let's move on to step 5. Turning all the words that you've created into great names. We're going to go through a few types of names that will help you understand how to make this transition. The first name type A very popular name type is real English words, or real words of any language, really. In our example, we might think of using Lincoln, Helm, Spearhead, Spur, Onesta as the actual name of the business. From our brainstorming process, any of these could be worth considering. The next thing we can do is we can create what we call compounds. These are two typically short words put together. Famous examples are Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, WordPress. In our example, we might consider True Vista as a great name. Modern Precision, Data Ape, or Reliable Core. Now, Reliable Core, to me, doesn't have that synergy. So when we put two words together, we want to think of words that come together to tell a bigger story, a better story. If they don't do anything together, they just feel like two good words, but they don't bring anything to each other, it's typically not a good compound. Next, we have transmutations. Popular brands using transmutations in their name include Zappos, Canva, and Curio. Zap became Zappos, Canvas became Canva, Curation became Curio. There are some standard add-ons that you can use, as well as you can see that you can take away letters to create these. Some of them include IC, IO, OS, A or any vowel, EUM, Y, IX, LA, IFY, and really any consonant and a vowel can be put together and tried. It's important with these type of names not to become formulaic. Just don't take a word and put anything on it. You really have to have a nice ear for language and make sure that it's short and it's easy to spell. These types of words can be really powerful because they can create short, interesting names with some reference back to the brand. But if they don't sound great, if they're not easy to use, they really fall flat on their face. So here's some examples. Pure could become Purium or Puric. Edge could become Edgix. Propel, we can drop the front and add onto the back to create Pelio. True could become Trula. Again, the sky is the limit, but these are some nice examples. Another naming construct that we have is a blend, where we take two words and put them together. A famous example is Groupon. Group and coupon create Groupon. In our example, we thought of putting together inspiration and data to create Inspirata. One of the most important things with these type of names is to make sure the words coming together don't say something else. We've seen a lot of examples when you cut part of the name off, you don't actually get the full understanding. You don't get any reference to what it is. And sometimes you can put them together and it actually turns into a totally different word. So that doesn't work at all. From our community, one of my favorite examples that I always remember is playformance. To me, you can really see you're putting together play and performance, and that tells a really nice brand story and has a lot of meaning to it. And it's real clear. Another great name type is abstract. Abstract names have no meaning, but great sound. The famous example is Xerox. This is another type that we can consider. Another example that I really like from our community is Iterix. This was for a tech company, and I just think it has that nice tech sound, and it works really well. For our brand, we looked through our domain marketplace over at Squad Help and found a really nice name, Azovi. Again, it doesn't have any meaning, but it has a nice sound that could work really well for this business. Next, we have this and that names. Great example is Crate and Barrel. For our example, we thought of the name Helm and Spur. Next, we have misspellings. Famous examples include Lift with a Y and Flickr without an E. For our example, we thought of Core Data, Core, Q-O-R-E, or True Insights. True is T-R-U, Insights. While there are several other types, for this example, we're going to go through one final one, which is visual names. Visual names are names that spur a visual image in your mind. Ice Mountain is one of my favorite examples. They've turned it into a wonderful logo, and it's very memorable. For our example, we thought of Blue Vista. Again, don't make this process formulaic. Just use these different types as inspiration and as a brainstorming technique to create lots and lots and lots of name ideas. Now we can move on to our next step, which is step 6. Where we take our names that we align with, that we think are good from the brainstorming, and we check them to make sure they're functional and usable. So our first functional test we call the read to speak test. Our name Puric, P-U-R-I-C, phonetically could easily be Puric without the E in there, you lose the pure and becomes puric. So that is an issue. It didn't pass that read. If I read it on a piece of paper, would I be able to speak it out loud? The next one is here to spell. Purium could be P-U-R-E-U-M or P-U-R-I-U-M. So there's a little bit of an ambiguity with how it's spelled. I think with that example, you could overcome it. I think it's still a good name, but you'll see names that you come up with when you think about how would I spell that if I heard it, where it's very difficult and you want to avoid those. Our next tech is as speak to hear. So if somebody speaks the name, can you hear it properly? This is also called the crowded bar test. So if I was in a noisy environment, would I be able to hear the name? Our example here is carrion, C-A-R-R-I-O-N. Sounds a lot like carry on, C-A-R-R-Y space O-N. So when you have those type of references where it's hard to tell what the name it really is, that can be a big issue. Next, we want to think about contextual sound. This means if I actually use it, does it sound nice? So you just want to say these out loud and check them within context. Thank you for calling Helmansburg. In this situation, thank you for calling Helmansburg. I don't think it passes the test. I think helm and kind of smushed together to become Hellman. I don't think it works. While I like the meaning and I think there's a lot of great aspects of this name, I don't think it passes that test. However, thank you for calling Pelio. Very easy, sounds nice to me. This is Grant with Pelio, another one that sounds great. Thank you for shopping at Pelio. You can keep going, but these are some examples of how you can use the name in context and get a better understanding of how it's going to sound and if it's going to sound nice. Very, very important. Our next check has us going back to the brief. So a name like Core Data isn't innovative. It's not going to stand out within the industry. It sounds very much, there's probably a company with that name. So that doesn't pass one of our checks that we set up at the beginning of the process. So anything that we've created, we want to make sure that it fits. Another example is Data Ape. I don't think this has the professionalism that they've mentioned in their brief. I think it's a little bit silly, could even be a little bit offensive, so we would get rid of that. So again, this check is to go back to the brief, back to those criteria that we set up in step 2 and make sure that we fit them with our name. Now we want to think about the use of this name. Is somebody else using the name? If you're creating names for a business that is not your own, doing a quick Google search just to make sure that there's no obvious conflict and nobody in the same industry is definitely using that name or a similar name. You can simply type in the name you are thinking of suggesting as well as the industry that the company is in and see if there's anything that's very obvious. If you're creating a name for yourself, we definitely recommend working with a licensed trademark attorney to make sure that there's no trademark conflict before moving forward. We've seen again and again that companies come to us after they've had trademark conflict and it becomes a real big issue, and we want to avoid that the best that we can. Our last step is finding a domain that works for us. We find that many companies want exactmatch.coms. Exactmatch.com is king, and we oftentimes want to focus on that. However, there are some alternatives. There's other extensions, like .io is pretty popular with tech companies. .co has some traction, and various other ones within different countries. You have your country-specific URL, so you can think through that. And we do have some other videos to help you think through that if you want to explore the Squad Help YouTube channel. There's front-end add-ons. Famously, Dropbox started at getdropbox.com. Backside add-ons. Tesla was at teslamotors.com for some time. So as you can see, as you're going through this, depending on what you're comfortable with, typically depends on the size of your business, what industry you're in, as to your domain specifications. But you can see how you can work through this final stage of the process.
Keep watching our series and you'll be an expert namer in no time. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next video.